Aloha everyone. So it's now been 1 year and 8 months since the big fire in Lahaina town, and we are starting to see a ton of progress in the rebuild with over 200 homes currently under construction. Now, the last time I released a full drone tour of Lahaina was all the way back in December of 2024, and I've been getting a lot of requests from people that are looking for an update. So today I figured I'd get the drone up in the air and we'll show everyone what's really happening in Lahaina. Let's go take a look. We're going to start on the far south end of Lahaina. Right now we're looking towards Oluwalu off in the distance, and up the hillside here is Laniapoko. As we spin, we're going to come over the top of an area known as Puamana. Now from here, we're going to continue to follow the coastline, heading north until we reach the far north end of Lahaina town. Then we'll circle back a little bit farther up the hillside so you can see more of the progress. We'll also take a separate flight starting from the coastline, going all the way up Lahainaluna Rd and back down the hillside. As always, I'll provide timestamps in the description below so you can jump to any of the neighborhoods or areas that are of most interest to you. That being said, I'm going to share a lot of updates and statistics on the recovery here in Lahaina town throughout the video, so you might want to stick around for the whole video. We're now coming up on the first few buildings that were lost to the fire here in Puamana. We're not seeing a whole lot of construction activity here in the Puamana neighborhood, and I'd guess that that's probably because it hasn't been labeled a priority, as it is more of a short-term rental or vacation home complex, and the priority has always been to get Lahaina residents back into their homes. That being said, we're going to see a lot more construction activity as we start to enter into the more residential neighborhoods. We're now flying over the far southern tip of Front Street, and as promised, we're already starting to see the first few homes being built. Now this is a really good sign, because the last time I did a full drone tour of Lahaina, this particular part of town only had a handful of homes that were under construction. And this was mostly due to the fact that there's an extra layer of permitting that's required for the properties that are on the ocean side of the highway. Properties in this area typically require an SMA or a special management area permit, which can add 6 to 12 months on the permitting process. Thankfully, the county government recently announced the temporary suspension of the special management area rules for properties that are located inland of Front Street. The properties that are on the ocean side of Front Street were not so lucky. Okay, on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see that we're now coming up on the Lahaina Shores condominium complex. Very recent updates have indicated that Lahaina Shores will be ready for occupancy once again starting July 1st. And there has been a lot of real estate sales activity at Lahaina Shores, with 6 properties selling since the beginning of the year. Now there are still just a handful of properties that are still available at Lahaina Shores to be purchased. If you're curious to check them out for yourself, I'll share a link in the description below to all the current listings at Lahaina Shores. As you can see, we're now coming up on the Lahaina Harbor and the more commercial portion of Front Street. And speaking of commercial areas, we did reach another major milestone since my last video, with 100% of the commercial lots completely cleared of their ash and debris as of February 26, 2025. Of course, while we're in the area, we're going to fly right next to the world-famous Banyan Tree to see how it's recovering. And as you can see for yourself, the banyan tree looks more and more green every time we see it. It appears to be doing great. In the center of the screen, you see where the Wharf Cinema Center once stood, and we're coming over the top of Front Street once again. If you look towards the top of the screen, you'll notice a yellow crane that's positioned right on Front Street. You probably noticed this crane at the intro of this video, and I'm sure some people are wondering what its purpose is. Well, this is where work has started to remove approximately 232 pilings from the waterfront properties along Front Street. These concrete pilings were used to support structures that were built over the water. Of course, the structures that these pilings once supported were destroyed in the fire. According to the Maui County Office of Recovery, the removal of these pilings, along with other hazardous debris such as metal beams and bolts, will help eliminate safety risks in this area. Of course, it also means that the rebuild of these structures is highly unlikely. I'm curious to hear what you think though. Do you think that properties on the ocean side of Front Street should be allowed to rebuild where they were, or should more modern setbacks be enforced? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section. By the way, one question that I get asked a lot on these videos is why are the lots still gray even after the ash and debris has been removed? Well, that's because they spread gravel over the top of the red dirt in order to prevent erosion. Okay, on the top right-hand side of the screen, we're coming up on my old neighborhood, Kahoma Village. We will see more of Kahoma Village later in the video, including some of the construction progress that we're seeing in that neighborhood. But for this flight, we're going to fly over the top of Baby Beach. And as you can see, Baby Beach is as beautiful as ever, and it's even fairly busy, especially for the middle of a Wednesday afternoon. Coming up in the middle right-hand side of the screen, we're going to fly over the Lahaina Jodo Mission. And if you look closely, you can see the giant Buddha statue that is still there. In the middle of the screen, you can see that we're approaching the Mala Wharf and boat ramp, and at the top left-hand side of the screen, you can see the Kaanapali coastline off in the distance. Now, typically in these videos, I continue to follow the coastline uninterrupted, but on this particular day, the wind really started to pick up as I started to round the corner towards Mala boat ramp. And unfortunately, the stronger than usual winds made it impossible for me to continue this particular flight. So we're going to jump ahead a little ways. We're going to skip past the portion of Front Street that mostly survived the fire that's near the Cannery Mall. And we're going to pick up another flight just past the Cannery Mall, but before it, the Lahaina Roads condominium complex, which you can see now on the left-hand side of the screen. We're now in more residential neighborhoods as we're coming up on the far north end of Front Street. From here, we're going to cross over the highway and head up into the Wahikuli neighborhood, where we're going to see a lot more construction activity. As we explore the Wahikuli neighborhood, let's cover some of the residential rebuild statistics that are shared on the Maui Recovers website. As of the second week of April 2025, there have been 339 total building permits issued. Out of that, 347 have been residential and 12 have been non-residential. Now, out of those issued permits, 212 total homes are currently under construction, and 6 have officially been completed. In addition to the issued permits, there's another 302 permits that are currently being processed. Out of that, 149 are residential and 153 are non-residential. These non-residential properties include commercial properties, properties with 4 or more dwelling units, and all of Puamana permits. So as you can see for yourself as we fly over these residential neighborhoods, there has been a fair amount of progress with the homes being rebuilt. However, the commercial areas are still pretty much at a standstill, as you saw when we flew over Front Street. Now, as we round the corner here on the top left-hand side of the screen, above the old Wahikuli neighborhood, you can see a couple of the temporary housing developments that are now housing fire survivors. One is a state-funded project, and the other one was built by FEMA. By the way, if you appreciate the time and energy that it takes to put together these aerial updates of Lahaina Town, please make sure to hit the like button. It does help out the channel with the YouTube algorithm, and it lets me know that you would like me to continue to share the progress that's being made here in Lahaina. I actually intended to release a video much sooner than this, but one of the reasons for the delay was heavy fog that we've been experiencing on Maui, ever since the volcanoes have started to erupt over on the Big Island. If you're not familiar with what VOG is, it's a hazy form of air pollution that's caused by volcanic emissions. It's a lot like smog, but with a V for volcano. The VOG does reduce visibility, which makes it more difficult to get clear video from the drone. As we come to the end of this neighborhood, I'm going to spin the drone to look up the mountainside. This is going to give us a more clear view of FEMA's temporary housing site called Kilohana. Now, Kilohana consists of 167 prefabricated modular units. These colorful structures have been built to last at least 30 years, and when they're no longer used for temporary housing, FEMA may sell or relocate them to Maui residents so they can contribute to the island's housing stock. From here, we're going to jump back across the highway to the ocean side, and starting at the Kahoma stream, we're going to fly over the Kahoma Village neighborhood. As I had mentioned earlier in the video, we have made really good progress with the rebuild of the townhome buildings that were lost in the fire. Now, as you probably already know, I am a real estate broker here on Maui, so I would like to mention that there are a few homes that are listed for sale in Kahoma Village, and one of the homes even has a private pool. I'll share a link to the current listings at Kahoma Village in the description below in case you're curious to check them out for yourself. Okay, we're now coming back into the commercial area of Lahaina town, starting with the outlets of Maui. We're flying right over the top of the parking structure at the outlets right now. We are flying parallel to Waine'e Street, which is on the left, and coming up on the intersection at Papalu'ua Street. Right on the corner is where the McDonald's building that survived the fire is still standing, and the building with the blue roof is where the old theater and the Foodland grocery store were located prior to the fire. The next cross street that we're coming up on is Lahainaluna Rd. So from here, we're going to start a new flight, this time starting from the coastline, and we're going to follow Lahainaluna Rd all the way up the hillside into the Lahainaluna Neighborhood. By the way, the location of where they're removing the pilings right now is where Kimo's restaurant, Lahaina Yacht Club, and the Lahaina Fish Company were located prior to the fire. Right now we're flying right over the top of where Cheeseburger in Paradise was, and we're coming up on the area that held the Plantation Inn. Another major development that we've received since my last Lahaina update video is that the Hawaii Supreme Court has cleared the way for the $4 billion Maui wildfire settlement. The defendants that agreed to this massive settlement include the Hawaii Electric Company, which was the main defendant and blamed for the spark that initiated the fire. Also included were Kamehameha Schools, which is a major landowner in Hawaii, responsible for contributing to the vegetation that fueled the fire, the state of Hawaii, which is accused of negligence in the fire prevention and response. Maui County was also accused of negligence in allowing the fire to spread, and other defendants included telecommunication companies like Hawaii Telecom and Spectrum, and the West Maui Land Company, which is another major landowner in the area. The Supreme Court ruling determined that insurance companies would not be able to recoup their losses from the defendants in addition to the victim's settlement. This is a huge win for the people of Lahaina, and we are hopeful that the funds will begin to be distributed by the end of the year. I'm sure you already noticed that the Lahainaluna neighborhood does have several homes that are in various stages of construction. Again, this portion of Lahaina did have a head start compared to the coastal areas because they didn't have to wait for the SMA permitting controversy to be resolved. And as we reach the highest portion of Lahainaluna that was affected by the fire, we'll spin around and start heading back down the hillside. You're going to notice even more homes that are under construction on this side of the neighborhood. If you look to the other side of the Kahoma stream, you'll see a mid-rise building. This is an affordable housing project with 89 total units, and it was originally lost in the fire but is now close to completing construction on the rebuild. We're now flying over the top of Como Mai Street, and from what I can see, this is the area in Lahaina that has the highest concentration of residential rebuild that's currently in progress. According to the data that's been provided by FEMA, they cleared a total of 1,390 residential properties of the ash and debris. If you consider that there are now 212 properties that are currently under construction, that means that about 15% of Lahaina's residential homes are in some stage of construction. Of course, we all wish that the rebuild was moving faster, but considering all that has been accomplished in the first 20 months after the fire, I do think that we're making good progress in the residential areas. However, I personally think that the lack of progress in the commercial areas is a bit concerning, as that will be a critical part of Lahaina's recovery. I'm curious to hear what you think though. Are you impressed with the progress that we've seen, or do you think it should be moving much quicker? And how long do you think it will take before Lahaina is substantially rebuilt? We're now flying over the top of the Hoonanea townhouse community. And as we turn to cross back over the Kahoma stream, you'll see another condominium complex called Opukea at Lahaina. Now, both of these properties did lose a few buildings to the fire, but the buildings that survived are cleared for occupancy, with a lot of residents already moved back in. We're now flying over the area that held the Mind's Eye interior building that was lost to the fire. This is also the area that once held the Taco Bell and Pizza Hut building, and straight ahead at the end of Limahana Place is where the Sugarcane Train food truck park had just opened prior to the fire. Okay, from here, we're going to jump back across the highway to the ocean side, and we're going to pick up where we left off at Lahainaluna Rd and continue our flight to the south. The building with the red roof on the left-hand side of the screen is the Maria Lanakila Catholic Church, and just past that, on the left-hand side as well, is where the Aina Nalu condominium complex was located prior to the fire. Now, Aina Nalu did allow short-term vacation rentals when it was in operation. And if you follow my channel, you already know that after the fire, the mayor introduced legislation that would phase out approximately half of the island's short-term rental condos throughout Maui. Now, I do cover this topic extensively in other videos, so if you want the latest updates, including the findings of the economic impact study that was just released, I suggest you check out some of my recent videos. By the way, we just crossed the intersection of Waine'e Street and Prison Street, and on the left-hand side of the screen now, you can see the Aquatic Center, which has been reopened. We're now coming up on the intersection of Waine'e Street and Shaw Street, and about to enter into the Shark Pit neighborhood. This is another area where you will notice several homes that are under construction. As we approach the part of Lahaina where we started the video, I'd just like to say thank you so much for watching all the way to the end and for your continued support. If you know of anyone else that would appreciate updates of Lahaina's progress, please share this video with them and subscribe to the channel for continued updates. I hope to see you on the next video, but even more than that, I look forward to bumping into all of you on Front Street someday when Lahaina is rebuilt. Until then, aloha.